We can describe Python as high-level, interpreted, general purpose programming language. What is meant by general purpose? Which means that Python can be used uh, for any purpose. If you take a computer, computer is called as a general purpose. But what is the difference between computer and calculator? Calculator does the operation, also does the computation as well as computer does. But when it comes to computer, it is referred as a general purpose. Why? Because by using computer, your desktop, you can use it as a you know play to play games, watch movies, and to perform some simulation scientific operations, and to do some statistics analytics operations by using Excel and Power BI. And you can use it virtually for anything. And if you are able to connect some extra music devices using MIDI protocol, and you can turn that as a audio workstation by connecting mic and all. So you can use it for anything. But if you take a calculator, all you can do is actually some scientific calculations, right? Isn't it? So both perform operations, but when it comes to calculator, which is dedicated, those are called embedded systems. That is targeted, which is for a specific domain, which does the specific operation to perform scientific operations calculations. So likewise, we have a lot of programming languages. If you can see, if you go here, so these are all programming language, very popular programming languages. Among them, Python is popular. Python was created by Guido van Rossum in 80s, and it was actually when he was working, and it came to the public in 90s, around 1991, which is actually earlier than Java. And these are actually tip of the iceberg. There are tens of hundreds of programming languages. And among these all languages, what is the language? Language is just an expression. So where expression by which is a means by which you can express your thoughts to the computer, where a set of operations, instructions that you can give to the computer machine. Where we use programming languages because we don't understand machine code. Computers don't understand human language. And we use this as a medium to talk to the computers. So likewise, we humans, that we have different languages. We have here also different programming languages. That is just if you want to do some work, this is called technology stack, where we can choose any of the programming language, where we can develop a website by using Python, website backend, and same we can do with Java. We can do that with the Node.js, and we can do that with PHP, and we can do that using Ruby on Rails and Go. But why do some people choose Python? Why some choose Ruby on Rails? And what is this is a question. And while there is actually C is out there for around it was created by Dennis Rich at Bell Laboratories, and it is there for 3 decades, more than 3 decades. But why isn't it used for creating a website backends? But it is used, it has its own purpose. So not all programming languages are perfect, but each language is having pros and cons. But when it comes to Python, why it is chosen, you can see here the code. This is actually told by someone who is working at YouTube. Python allows us, the most of the stuff done at Google, they use Go language and they use Python extensively at a Google and YouTube. Python allows us to produce maintainable features in record time with a minimum of developers. So by using Python, if you use other language, you might end up writing hundreds and thousands of lines, but when it comes to Python, same stuff can be done with tens of lines. So reducing number of human developer hours, you can reduce number of developer hours, and you can actually create a prototype or develop anything in record breaking time with in a less time. That is what actually everyone wants. So this is Python is very close to English, so that it is quite readable. So why do we choose Python? What are some characteristics of Python? It is portable, which means that write code once. This is not true with the C++, if you are aware, because for C++, all you, hello? Yeah, for C++, what you need to do, you need to uh, you need to recreate that builds for every targeted system, because if you create a software, so I'll show you an example. You might come across this thing. Okay, so there's a software, Blender. If I go and click on download, you might actually come across these things. Why isn't there is a single download option for all platforms here? You see, there is a one download option for Windows, one option for Mac, and one for Linux. Okay, so if you come across download, uh, if you try to download a software on from any website, you might come across these options. If you try to install a Mac DMZ file on a Windows, it doesn't work. If you try to install exe on Mac, it doesn't work. Why? Because if you create a that executable that is targeted to particular system, where when it comes to low-level languages like a C++, if you write a program and if you compile that, and of course this is also true, if you you have to make a changes according to the platform as well. So uh, platform, yes, platform means Windows is a platform here, Mac is a platform, Linux is a platform, and iOS is a platform, Android is a platform. So where Android apps don't work on iOS apps don't work on Android, because they are targeted and created for that particular platform. So one software is created for that particular platform, it doesn't work on another platform without making any changes, because that is why C++ applications are not portable. Portable means, what is meant by portable? If you say portable chair, what does it mean by portable chair? You can carry it to anywhere, you can use it anywhere, right? That way, so all languages are not portable, where C++ are not portable. If you create a software for particular targeted system, for let's say with Linux, that won't work without minimal changes, at least on Windows. Or if you create a build on Linux, that won't work on Windows. But when it comes to Python, the best thing is thanks to the Python virtual machine, and this whole thing is possible because of its interpreter nature. Its interpreter, so it is portable. If you create one application that works across all platforms, okay, that works on Windows, that works on Linux, Mac OS, Chrome OS, that works on all different platforms. Okay, so that is a portable nature. Even Python is available for embedded Python is available. Embedded Python, so where you can use that on IoT devices. Okay, IoT, you are aware of IoT, Raspberry Pi, okay, or Arduino. So where embedded Python, like there are different versions, different Pythons are available. So these are called, we actually use usually C Python. There are Jython, Cython, those things. Likewise, there is a PyPy, and there is also embedded Python. So where we can use Python for embedded systems as well. So you don't have to make any changes. We create something, and that works across different platforms. These are called implementations. Anyway, different implementations are there for a Python language. And what is another thing here? It is interpreted. There is a difference between compiled languages and interpreted languages. Interpreted languages, when it comes to compiler, it takes whole code and generates the machine code. But when it comes to interpreter, it takes line by line and converts that to the byte code and executes on CPU. This is very high level programming language, which means high level. What is difference between high level and low level? Low level means which is very close to the computer. So let me show you machine code. So this is a low level code. You see, the computers can understand only ones and zeros. So if you go to the CPU level, everything is a switch there, on and off. The whole processor is made up of transistors, logic gates. So there are only two states, on and off. The CPU processor knows only two things. But we can't actually, don't we humans can't and don't understand this machine code. So any programming language that is very close to the CPU, that CPU can understand, so those are called low level. C is called mid level language, and a Python here, it is a high level language where we can understand. That is the reason it is elegant and beautiful and readable, so easy to understand. That is the reason it provides a quite productivity for the developers, and we can actually create astonishing things in less record time. And this is dynamic typed and strong typed. So dynamic typed means difference. There is a static type languages. There are Java is an example, C is an example, C++, where you have to define types prior you use. But when it comes to Python, you can't. You don't have to define the variables that you use upfront. So you can actually definition of variable is nothing but assigning some value to it, and the types are not associated with variables. So that way it is quite effective and strong typed. You can't, unlike JavaScript, you can't add strings and numbers. Where this is a strong type, if different types don't match, it doesn't allow to mingle them. And you see here where Python is used. And now see here, you can see Python is a general purpose, as we have discussed. What are some domain specific languages? Tell me here. If you go MATLAB, this is domain specific. You can't create every software in MATLAB. R is a domain specific that is used for a data science. And PHP is domain specific that is used for creating web applications. And SQL is domain specific. That language you will use it to query and alter data in a database. You can't create a website, you can't create a desktop application, you can't do the data analysis in SQL. So assembly language is you can't do anything. Okay, that is quite hard. But drivers are created using some parts of the components of system drivers are created by using assembly languages. Okay, so that way some languages are domain specific. You can't do anything. All things in those using those languages. But when it comes to Python, which is general purpose, not domain specific, if you learn a Python, what are different opportunities are out there for you, and what you can do if you learn Python. You see, by using Python, these are the success stories. This is the official website for the Python, and there you can see this is not a complete list, but there you can see the glimpse of what Python is capable of. Software development, you can use it for a code generation, computer graphics. You see this Python is this whole Blender is a 3D software, and in this software extensively Python is used. Computer graphics, and Python is used in gaming, data mining, embedded systems. You can see embedded systems, which means calling bell is an embedded system. Okay, So IoT devices, let's say water sensor, water level sensor. So those things you can create IoT also using Python. And game development Python is used. And see network development, which means the online games. And this is used for unit testing. Okay. And see VFX and web development is Python is used. And likewise, these are all different categories the where Python is actually used extensively. And even NASA, you see that black hole uh, picture. This was taken, that was a very big news. To process all the data the captured, Python was used. Are you aware of this? Okay. And this is extensively used by Tesla for machine learning, artificial intelligence, computer vision. Python is used. And global positioning system and mapping. When it comes to science, it is used for bioinformatics, chemistry, scientific programming, simulations. You see, whatnot. So that is why it is referred as a general purpose programming language. Okay. So learning a Python gives you endless opportunities to strive in any of these fields. But what happens? You see, Python. Leslie, how it works? You see, you know the Python extensively. So what you can do with Python, if you want to become a web developer, so you may want to learn Java, Django, Bottle, Tornado. These are different frameworks for web development. If you want to create some desktop applications, there is a PySide, WX Python. And if you want to work with networking stuff, you have a for a Twisted framework, Twisted library for a event driven non-blocking asynchronous network programming. And for a data science, you have pandas, numpy, these libraries and packages, matplotlib. When it comes to data visualization, you have these. For a scientific computing, you have biopython. These are libraries. For machine learning, you have Spark. And if you want to create some games, what you have a Pygame, Panda 3D. Those are libraries for a game development. So though on top of Python, you may want to learn that very domain specific framework or library, and with that you can actually create a phenomenal things using Python. And the other than that, the what is Python is also known for memory manager. You don't have to actually clean up the mess that you made when create when you are developing a software, because if you use C, where if you allocate some memory, which is obviously these softwares that we are applications that run on a computer system or mobile, they need a RAM. So they reserve some chunk of memory, and if you don't clean up, you have to actually do that memory management in C manually. If you forget, what happens? There would be a memory leaks, and the app will end up crashing. So you don't have to take care of that memory management. Memory management overhead. Python takes care of it implicitly, and Python is object oriented, which is the best served when it comes to representing real world problems programmatically, and Python is extensible. Let's say Python is high level, but when it comes to working with some drivers or some performance critical stuff, you may want to work with other languages like a C. What happens, Python is also known as glued language, where you can easily write bindings and call stuff from other languages like a C. And you can use Jython if you want to use some power related to Java. Different implementations are out there. So it is also referred as a extensible. It is also an extensible programming language. So when it comes to now, you know what is Python, how it is used. It is object oriented. What is object oriented? So in a Python, everything is referred as an object. So what happens? What do you see here? Car. Yeah. So what it has? It has some features or characteristics. The brand is BMW and the mileage is 25 kilometers per liter, and it has ABS braking system. Color is white. Those are characteristics. So this object we can represent in a programming language in object oriented. This is called paradigm. So C is not object oriented. C is a structural or a procedure oriented or imperative programming language. When it comes to Python, Python is doesn't follow single paradigm. It is a multi-paradigm language where you can do functional programming, you can do object oriented programming is in C. So that is the reason it is called multi-paradigm programming language. You can best represent these real world scenarios, objects, things in a Python using objects. So these are characteristics. We call them as attributes in a programming language, Python. And what do you see? There are some functionalities this particular object or car provides. Those are actually start, stop, brake, change gear, let's say lights on, lights off. If it is a Tesla, autopilot on, autopilot off. Okay, for a speedometer showing what is current speed. So those are some actions are out there. If you take a dog has some characteristics. That is a breed, color. And dog does a few things. Those are, functions or, behavior. That is, jumping, running, barking. So we call them as methods in a programming language. So each object has attributes and methods. So in a Python, so if you take a car, we have attributes that are color, brand, mileage, braking system. And if we take functions or behavior, we have start, stop, brake, change gear. Those are actions, and we call them as methods in a programming language. If you take a Python interpreter, you can take a car, which is an object, and car.color, that way you can represent, those attributes. This is a color is attribute, and get current speed is a method. How it works, if you are playing a PUBG, you are the player. Say you have a player, you are the object, and you have some attributes, which is a dress, color, and weapon you are carrying. Okay, and so that player is represented as an object in a game, and he is walking. If you press the W button or up arrow, he moves forward. So that is a behavior, and that happens by calling a methods. So that way we can represent using object oriented. That is the best thing about object oriented programming paradigm. You can best represent real world objects scenarios effectively. And finally, what are the opportunities out there and why you want to learn? You can see here, there are extensive list. We can't go through all this list. And whatever the mentioned here is just, this is not exhaustive list. These are just uh, a fraction, chunks out there just listed for us to give an idea. And if you go here, the programming, index, this is a GitHub, and you can see Python is ranked the second language when it comes to number of repositories. And Python is consistently a second or first language. Why JavaScript is first? Because without JavaScript, there is no website. Yeah, so there are an endless number of websites out there, millions, trillions of websites. All of them need JavaScript. So that is the reason JavaScript is the topmost programming language. But if you see here consistently, Python is second most or topmost used wanted programming language here. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. You can see when it comes to 2022, it is the first ranked language according to this GitHub statistics. Number of this language is actually, these statistics are based on GitHub. Okay, this is the most wanted programming language, Python. So much demand is out there. Mostly used, widely used, most wanted, most developers love creating a software using a Python. Yeah. And you can see here, this is also index where you can see consistently it is either ranked first or second. Python is topmost used programming language, and that endless opportunities out there. And considering this, you should learn Python, and those are the characteristics of Python.